A single father working as a janitor noticed what the doctors had missed and saved a billionaire's son's life within minutes. Sometimes, an act as simple as paying attention can change everything. It was Tuesday night at Celestia at the Mirage, one of Las Vegas's most renowned fine dining restaurants. Crystal chandeliers spilled light over honey-glossed hardwood floors. Soft jazz drifted through the air above tables, where guests in Armani suits and Chanel gowns sipped rare wines as if time itself had paused. Each polished silver cutlery set cost a worker's month's wage. Every dish leaving the kitchen looked like a living painting, so beautiful that diners hesitated a few seconds before daring to touch their knives. Behind the thick velvet curtain, inside the humming wheel of kitchens and service corridors, stood a man whose calloused hands held a heart warmer than any flame in that kitchen. Adam Cooper, 38, the night janitor. He had learned a skill money could never buy, the ability to see what others overlook. It was a skill forged through countless sleepless nights, holding his daughter, Emma, whose fragile heart required constant monitoring. The dinner rush was slowing, the dining room settling into luxurious calm, when the VIP room door opened quietly. A little boy with brown hair, dressed in a perfectly fitted suit, stepped out, pale, clutching his right side, breathing shallowly. Beside him was a woman in a black Oscar de la Renta dress. The same woman who looked composed and untouchable in every magazine photo, but whose voice now trembled. "Oliver, sweetheart, look at Mommy." The hotel medic arrived. "Probably just low blood sugar," he said. Everything seemed under control. From behind the curtain, Adam felt something click inside his chest. A familiar alarm, the same instinct that had once saved him, and cost him everything. He set down his mop and stepped straight into the light. "Ma'am, I'm not a doctor, but if the pain is sharp on the right side, with nausea and shallow breathing, waiting even a few more hours could be too late." The room went silent. Even the jazz seemed to vanish. In a world that worshipped degrees and gold-plated business cards, a single father janitor had just spoken the truth everyone else had missed. And minutes later, that truth saved a life. If you believe that sometimes care itself is the strongest medicine, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more stories of healing like this. But why could Adam, a man who had once walked away from medicine, still see what the top doctors couldn't? The answer begins 7 years earlier. Adam Cooper was not the kind of man you'd expect to find in a 5-star restaurant like Celestia. He wasn't a celebrity chef, nor a sommelier with a refined palate, nor a courteous manager with a smooth, deep voice. Adam was the one who cleaned up what others left behind. The man most diners never noticed, yet without him, Celestia's glamour would be nothing more than a fragile porcelain mask waiting to crack. Every evening, as the sun set over the Nevada desert and the Las Vegas Strip lit up with millions of lights, Adam put on his simple navy blue uniform and stepped into a world he knew he would never belong to. He pushed his cleaning cart through hallways lined with deep red carpet, polished marble sinks until they shone, and made sure not a single scrap of paper or smudge ruined the flawless experience of guests paying thousands of dollars for a few hours of dinner perfection. But Adam's story didn't begin in those hidden corridors. 7 years earlier, he had been a promising emergency medical technician at the University Medical Center in Las Vegas. He loved his job, loved the rush of adrenaline that came from pulling someone back from the edge of death, loved the grateful look in a patient's eyes when they were given another chance to live. Then Sarah, his wife, was killed in a sudden car accident. In one night, Adam became a single father to Emma, a 3-year-old girl with her mother's blue eyes and a fragile heart that required constant monitoring. The life of an EMT meant unpredictable shifts, sleepless nights, and endless personal sacrifices. Adam tried to balance it all, but when Emma began having trouble breathing in the middle of the night while he was across the city in an ambulance, he realized something devastating. He might be saving others, but he couldn't save his own daughter. So he left medicine. He needed a job with fixed hours, a steady paycheck to cover rent and hospital bills, and most importantly, one that allowed him to always be there when Emma needed him. The janitor position at Celestia didn't offer prestige, but it gave him the most precious thing of all: time with his daughter. Every evening before his shift, Adam took Emma to the home of Mrs. Rosa, the elderly neighbor who loved the little girl like her own grandchild. He kissed Emma's forehead, checked her medication box, and promised he'd be home before bedtime to read her a story. "How much do you love me, Daddy?" Emma asked every night, a ritual that never failed. "More than all the stars in the Las Vegas sky," Adam would reply, gently brushing her golden hair. The years caring for Emma had taught him more than any medical school ever could. He could tell when her breathing rhythm changed even slightly. He noticed the pallor of her lips before a breathing episode hit. He recognized danger in the smallest twitch, a flicker in her eyes, a shift in her tone. It was a kind of knowledge no textbook could teach, one born of love, of sleepless nights spent watching over her, of the terror of losing the last precious thing he had in life. And tonight, all those experiences would be put to the test. 7 years earlier, on the night Sarah died, Adam had sat in the emergency room holding 3-year-old Emma in his arms. She had just survived a severe breathing episode, her tiny heart fighting for every beat. "Daddy, where did Mommy go?" Emma asked weakly. Adam couldn't answer. How could he tell his little girl that her mother was never coming back? That because of one drunk driver, their entire world had shattered? Under the cold fluorescent lights of that hospital, Adam kissed his daughter's forehead and whispered a promise. "Daddy will never leave you alone. I'll learn to see every sign, understand every pain. You'll never have to be afraid by yourself again." 2 months later, the decision to quit being an EMT felt like cutting out a part of his soul. He loved saving lives. It was his purpose. But one night, while responding to a cardiac arrest, he received a call from Mrs. Rosa. Emma couldn't breathe. Adam had to make an impossible choice: to turn the ambulance around. For the longest 18 minutes of his life, he listened to Emma's gasps through the phone, guiding Mrs. Rosa through chest compressions and praying they would make it in time. They did. But the patient in the ambulance, a 62-year-old man suffering a heart attack, did not. When Adam looked at the empty stretcher afterward, he knew he couldn't keep living between two worlds. If he had to choose, he would always choose Emma. He hung up his EMT jacket for the last time, applied for a janitorial job at Celestia, and became the father his daughter needed. But the skills he once had, reading the body, sensing danger, trusting instinct, never left him. And tonight, they would save another life. For most people, Celestia was just a luxury restaurant. But for Adam Cooper, it was where destiny waited, a place he came only to work quietly, not knowing that on this very night, under the glimmering lights and the sound of clinking glasses, his past would return, in the form of a stranger's child standing on the edge between life and death. Celestia at the Mirage was not an ordinary restaurant. Perched on the 40th floor of the Mirage Hotel, with panoramic views of the dazzling Las Vegas Strip. It stood as a symbol of luxury and power. Getting a table required at least a 3-month wait, unless you were famous, a billionaire, or knew someone who was. Every dish at Celestia was a masterpiece, meticulously plated on white porcelain, like a painting drawn in flavor. The head chef, Jean-Pierre Rousseau, was a legend in the culinary world, a French perfectionist so demanding that even Gordon Ramsay once called him the man who could never be pleased. Every clang of a knife, every drop of sauce, every breath inside that kitchen had a price, and that price was absolute perfection. But Adam Cooper knew a truth the diners would never see. Behind that glamorous mask was a vast machine powered by hundreds of exhausted people. While guests savored foie gras, lobster, and vintage champagne, those in the kitchen raced against every second. The clang of pans, the chopping of knives, the shouting of orders, all blended into a symphony of sweat and pressure. No one was allowed to slow down. No one was allowed to make a mistake. And among those people, in the unseen hallways where light never reached, were men like Adam, the invisible ones, the ones who kept perfection alive, but were never called by name. That Tuesday night began like any other. Adam clocked in at 5 p.m., changing into his uniform in a cramped locker room he shared with 5 others. Carlos, his closest friend there, was tying his shoelaces, laughing as he recounted last night's soccer match. "Hey, Adam, how's little Emma doing?" Carlos asked, as he did every day. He was one of the few at Celestia who knew Adam's real story. "She's better this week," Adam smiled, but the smile didn't reach his gray eyes. "The doctor says we still need to monitor her closely, but she's improving." What Adam didn't say was the fear that still burned quietly inside him. The fear that one day he might not be fast enough, careful enough, and he would lose Emma, just as he'd lost Sarah. 6:30 p.m. Dinner service began. Adam was in position, not where the lights shone, but in the shadows of hallways and maintenance rooms. He didn't serve food directly in the dining area. His job was to keep everything spotless to the point of invisibility. Bathrooms, corridors, service stations. But sometimes, when pushing his cart past the VIP section, he caught a glimpse of the other world. The world of laughter, wine, and dishes that cost more than his monthly rent. Adam had grown used to being unseen. People looked right through him as if he were part of the furniture. But he didn't mind. He had learned to find dignity in honest work, no matter how humble. And he didn't know. His invisibility would become his greatest advantage that night. Among the hundreds of familiar faces dining at Celestia that evening, there was one woman everyone recognized, Vivienne Hale, a name that made Wall Street tremble. A powerful billionaire, a single mother, and a woman hiding the greatest fear of her life. Just a few elevator floors apart, the worlds of Vivienne and Adam, 2 people from opposite ends of society, were about to collide. And that collision would save a life. 7:15 p.m. A line of limousines glided toward the VIP entrance of the Mirage Hotel. The door of one opened, and Vivienne Hale stepped out, dressed in a black Oscar de la Renta gown, her platinum blonde hair tied neatly back, blue eyes hidden behind Dior sunglasses. She was one of the most powerful women in America, the CEO of Hale Technologies, a tech empire valued at $47 billion. Forbes ranked her 12th on its list of the world's most powerful women. A single decision from her could shake thousands of jobs and move millions of investors. But behind that steel exterior was something more than power. There was a mother who had fought tooth and nail to keep her son after a messy divorce 2 years earlier from Marcus Hale, her ex-husband and former business partner. Marcus had walked away with a massive settlement, but custody of their son went to Vivian, the child she loved more than any deal or contract. 10-year-old Oliver Hale stepped out after his mother. The tailored suit fit him perfectly, but his pale face and the way he moved, slow, guarded, one hand pressed against his lower right abdomen, told another story. "Mom, I don't think I want dinner," Oliver whispered, his small hand instinctively clutching the sore spot. Vivian knelt down to meet his eyes, a rare gesture few had ever seen in public. In that fleeting moment, the billionaire CEO vanished. Only a worried mother remained. "We've canceled 4 dinners in the past 2 weeks, sweetheart," she said softly, forcing calm into her tone. "Dr. Morrison said it's just a stomach ache. The medicine will help soon." Oliver nodded, trying to smile, but Vivian caught the flicker of pain behind his eyes. Unease rose inside her, the kind of intuition she trusted in business, but ignored this time as a mother. A seemingly small choice, one that almost cost a life. Fragments of memory flickered like the candles from an old birthday cake. Not the night Marcus slammed the door and left, but Oliver's 8th birthday. When he blew out the candles, he'd made a wish. "I wish Mommy could stay home more." That innocent wish carved a wound so deep, Vivian could still feel it. During the divorce trial, Marcus's lawyers weaponized that wish. They presented evidence after evidence. School plays she missed, dinners alone, nights Oliver cried while she was in Singapore for meetings. "My client loves his son more than his career," the lawyer declared. "Mrs. Hale loves power." Vivian had fought like a lioness and won custody, but the accusations clung to her like shadows. And the worst part? A small part of her knew. They weren't entirely wrong. She swore she would change, spend more time with Oliver. But old habits were stubborn. A can't-be-moved meeting, a must-close deal, an urgent email. Then Oliver got sick. 2 weeks ago, she took him to Dr. Morrison, a well-known pediatrician trusted by the elite. "It's just a stomach virus," he assured her, with 30 years of experience. "A few days of meds, and he'll be fine." But Oliver wasn't fine. With each passing day, fear swelled inside Vivienne. Her instincts screamed, but the Harvard-trained, impeccably credentialed doctor told her she was overreacting. And once again, Vivian chose to trust an expert instead of herself. Just as she had trusted Marcus, trusted lawyers, trusted the false choice between career and family. The woman who ran a $47 billion empire had forgotten how to listen to the smallest voice within. Tonight, a stranger would help her find it again. The VIP elevator doors closed, carrying them to the 40th floor. Oliver leaned against his mother. Vivian felt the faint tremor running through his body. "After dinner, I'll call Dr. Morrison," she whispered. "If you still don't feel well, we'll go to the hospital right away." Promises often come one heartbeat too late. And tonight, that heartbeat almost didn't make it. The restaurant doors opened. Manager Pierre greeted them with a smile tailored for VIPs. "Madame Hale, what an honor," he said, in a light French accent. "Your private table is ready." They were escorted to a secluded dining room with panoramic views of the Strip, elegant, silent, far from prying eyes. Oliver sat down, wincing softly, his hand returning to his abdomen. Vivian maintained her composure, a habit long practiced for survival. In her world, worry was a weakness. She smiled, opened the menu, pretending all was well, but her heart knew better. Something was terribly, terribly wrong. At that same moment, In the VIP corridor, Adam Cooper pushed his mop cart quietly past a door that had just closed. Inside, the faint clinking of cutlery. Outside, a hurried phone call ending, exposing a worry no headline would ever capture. It would take just one simple question for two worlds to collide. And then, a life would be pulled back from the edge. Adam was mopping the floor near the VIP private rooms when he heard a door open softly. By reflex, he immediately stepped aside toward the wall, head slightly bowed, a habit built over years in a job designed to go unnoticed. A small gesture, one that meant respect, and never being in the way. A woman stepped out. Her voice was low, sharp, but faintly trembling. The kind of tension mastered only by people who spend their lives under pressure. "I don't care what they say, Michael. I want Oliver's blood test results before 9 a.m. tomorrow." "No, not 10. 9. I know Dr. Morrison is off this weekend, then find another doctor." It was Vivian Hale. Adam didn't have to look up to know. She was that recognizable, anyone who'd ever heard her on the radio or seen her in a TV interview would know instantly. But what made him stop wasn't her fame or power. It was a subtle quiver in her voice, something he'd never heard in any of those interviews or press conferences. Vivian ended the call. She stood still in the gleaming marble hallway, leaning slightly against the wall, eyes closed. In that unguarded moment, when she thought no one was watching, the cold mask of the billionaire slipped away, revealing the exhaustion of a mother on the edge. "I'm sorry, ma'am," Adam said softly, careful not to startle her. "I didn't mean to overhear. But is your son all right?" Vivian opened her eyes and looked down at the man in the janitor's uniform, a faded blue shirt, shoes damp from the freshly mopped floor. For a split second, her CEO instinct kicked in, guarded, composed, ready with a polite dismissal. But then she paused. There was something in his eyes, a kind of concern that was genuine, without agenda, without fear. "My son? He's not well," she admitted quietly, her voice for once fragile. "It's been 2 weeks. The doctor says it's just a stomach virus, but your mother's instinct says otherwise, doesn't it?" Adam finished gently. Vivian stared at him, surprised. "Exactly." "My daughter has a heart condition," Adam said. "I know that feeling, when every instinct in you says something's wrong, but everyone around you insists you're just overreacting." The hallway fell silent. Only the distant hum of the air conditioner and the fading scent of cleaning solution lingered. Between two strangers, a powerful billionaire and an invisible janitor, a fragile thread of empathy formed, bound by the deepest fear any parent could know, the fear of losing a child. "How old is your son?" Adam asked. 10. "Where does it hurt?" Vivian hesitated, then answered truthfully. "Lower abdomen, right side. He doesn't want to eat. Always feels nauseous." A chill ran down Adam's spine. His years as an EMT had wired him to instantly visualize symptoms like a map in his mind. "Ma'am, I'm not a doctor," he said carefully, "but I used to work in emergency response. What you're describing sounds a lot like appendicitis." Vivian stiffened slightly. "Dr. Morrison checked for that. He said it wasn't." "When was that?" 5 days ago." "And since then, has your son gotten better or worse?" Vivian was silent for a moment, then admitted softly, "Worse, especially today." Adam felt his chest tighten. He knew he was crossing a dangerous line. He was just a janitor, with no right to interfere, and certainly not in the medical concerns of a billionaire's child. One wrong word could cost him his job. But in his mind, he heard his daughter's voice. "How much do you love me, Daddy?" He thought of the woman before him, Another parent who might never get to hear that question again if he stayed silent. "Mrs. Hale," Adam said, his voice steady now, "I'm sorry for intruding, but if it is appendicitis and it's been missed, the appendix could rupture. And when that happens—" He stopped. He didn't need to finish. Vivian's eyes widened. She understood. "What should I do?" she asked, her voice trembling, a plea she didn't realize she was making. Adam took a deep breath. "Let me see your son. Just for a minute. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize and leave right away. But if I'm right—" Vivian looked at him for a long moment. This stranger, this man whose job no one remembered. But in his eyes, she saw something that no wealth or power could ever buy. Sincerity and the quiet courage of a father who had once stared down the terror of losing his child. "Follow me." The VIP room door closed softly behind them, leaving only faint jazz music and the golden light reflecting off the marble floor. Inside, Oliver sat hunched in his chair, face pale, forehead beaded with sweat. He tried to swallow a sip of water, but even that small effort made him wince in pain. Adam knew 1 minute, a few quick questions, the right observation, could make the difference between being on time and being too late. He drew a deep breath and stepped toward the boy. When Adam stepped into the VIP dining room, the air was so heavy it almost felt solid. The room was elegant, warm light cascading over a silk-covered table, but the luxury meant nothing now. Oliver sat curled in his chair, his face pale, his forehead glistening with sweat. He tried to sip some water, but even swallowing made him wince in pain. Diana, Vivian's assistant, shot up from her seat the moment she saw a janitor step into the private dining room. "Madame Hale, what's going on?" she asked sharply, alert. "It's fine," Vivian said, raising a hand, her composure calm, the kind that only comes from someone used to commanding thousands. "Give us a moment alone." Diana hesitated, eyeing Adam from head to toe, then exited with 2 security guards. The door closed behind them, leaving only 3 people in the room: Vivian, Oliver, and Adam. Adam approached the table and knelt down until he was eye level with Oliver. He smiled, the same warm, gentle smile he used to calm Emma whenever her heart pain frightened her. "Hey there, Oliver," he said softly. "I'm Adam. I've got a daughter about your age. Would you mind if I ask you a few questions?" Oliver glanced toward his mother. Vivian nodded, her expression softening for the first time in hours. "Where does it hurt, buddy?" Adam asked. Oliver placed his hand on the lower right side of his stomach. "Here. It started as a small ache, but now it really hurts. Do you feel nauseous?" "Yes, since yesterday." "Did you eat anything today?" Oliver shook his head weakly. "I didn't want to. Everything just makes it worse." Adam nodded slightly. Each answer was a piece of a puzzle he already knew too well, and didn't want to complete. While kneeling beside the boy, a memory flashed before Adam's eyes. 5 years ago, a night shift. A young couple had rushed into the ER carrying their 9-year-old son, the child's body curled in agony, lips turning blue. "He's had stomach pain for 3 days, they said. We thought it was food poisoning." By the time they arrived, it was too late. The appendix had ruptured 12 hours earlier. The infection had spread through his abdomen. The boy died 4 hours after a desperate surgery. Adam inhaled sharply, forcing the memory away. "Focus," he told himself. "The present. This boy. Save this one." "When did he start running a fever?" he asked, turning to Vivian, his voice taking on the calm precision of his EMT days. "About 3 days ago," Vivian answered. "But it was mild, just 37.8 degrees. Adam nodded. That was the classic sign. A mild fever, the body's first quiet alarm before infection spreads like wildfire. Has he had diarrhea? No, Oliver whispered. I can't go. Constipation. Another hallmark of appendicitis, as inflammation begins to block the intestinal tract. Adam looked closer at the boy's eyes under the golden light. Yes, there it was. A faint yellow tinge along the eyelids. Elevated bilirubin, the liver straining to fight infection. Did the pain come suddenly or gradually? Adam asked gently. Gradually, Oliver said. At first it was just weird, uncomfortable. Then yesterday it really started to hurt. And today, his voice trembled. Today I can't take it anymore. Adam nodded again. The timeline fit perfectly. Appendicitis doesn't strike like a lightning bolt. It creeps, it deceives, pretending to be harmless until it's nearly too late. Okay, I'm going to touch your stomach a little, Adam said. If it hurts, tell me. I just need to know exactly where Oliver nodded, lips pressed tight. Adam gently moved his fingers toward the McBurney point, 2/3 of the way from the navel to the right hip bone. Even with a light touch, he could feel the muscles tense up. Guarding. The body's instinctive defense against internal inflammation. Oliver let out a soft cry as Adam pressed slightly deeper. But what crushed Adam's heart was when he released his hand. Oliver cried louder, face twisting in pain, tears welling up. Rebound tenderness, Adam murmured. There was no mistaking it. When the appendix is inflamed, the peritoneum, the protective membrane, becomes hypersensitive. Releasing pressure causes it to snap back in agony. Adam rose to his feet, his mind racing. Half of him, the trained EMT, knew exactly what was happening. The other half, the man who feared losing his job for crossing a line, whispered, "You're not a medic anymore, Adam. You're just a janitor. Who's going to believe you?" Then another voice broke through, the voice of Sarah, his late wife, calm and steady. "I believe in you, Adam. I always did. And that child needs you to believe in yourself." Adam lifted his gaze and met Vivian's eyes, and in that moment she saw the truth she'd been denying for 2 weeks. Her worst fear was real. "This is appendicitis," Adam said, his tone calm but urgent. "And from what I can see, it's advanced. We need to get him to a hospital right now." Vivian's breath quickened. "But, Dr. Morrison—" "Dr. Morrison didn't see your son today," Adam interrupted, his voice firm. "Mrs. Hale, I've seen this before. If the appendix ruptures, the infection will flood his abdomen. When that happens, the boy could die within hours." The room spun around Vivian. All the years of boardroom battles, billion-dollar deals, magazine covers, none of it mattered if she lost her only child. "What if you're wrong?" she whispered. But even as she said it, she already knew she didn't believe that question anymore. "If I'm wrong," Adam said quietly, "I'll apologize and accept whatever happens. But as a father to a little girl with a heart condition, I can only tell you this. Don't let the fear of overreacting silence you. You've known something was wrong all along, haven't you?" Vivian looked down at Oliver, her son trembling, trying to be brave, trusting her completely. In that instant, all her pride, her control, her reputation as one of America's most powerful women vanished. All that remained was a mother, desperate to save her child. She spun toward the door. "Diana!" she called sharply. "Get the car." "We're going to the hospital." Security rushed to clear the way as Vivian scooped Oliver into her arms. Adam followed close behind, holding the door open, the hallway lights reflecting off the boy's pale face. There was no longer any line between Billionaire and Janitor. Only two people, running side by side, racing against time to save a life. Everything happened like a whirlwind. Diana immediately called the driver to bring the limousine to the emergency exit, while security cleared the path. But just as they were about to leave, Oliver suddenly let out a cry, doubling over, his face turning as white as paper. "No, no, no," Vivian whispered, clutching her son tightly in her arms. Adam needed only one look to understand. The boy's condition was deteriorating by the second. There was no time to descend 40 floors and battle through the evening traffic clogging the Las Vegas Strip at 8 p.m. "Call 911, he shouted. "Tell them to send an ambulance immediately, and give me your phone." Vivian didn't hesitate. She handed him the phone while Diana was already on the emergency line. Adam quickly dialed a number he hadn't called in years, the direct line to the emergency department at University Medical Center, where he had once worked. "UMC, Dr. Martinez speaking." "Rachel, it's Adam Cooper," he said urgently. "I've got a 10-year-old patient, suspected acute appendicitis, possible rupture. We're at Celestia, 40th floor of the Mirage. Ambulance en route. I need an OR prepped immediately." "Adam? Oh my God, I haven't heard your voice in ages. Are you sure?" 8 years as an EMT, Rachel. I'm sure. All right, I'll alert the on-call surgeon. Patient's name? Oliver Hale. Halea, short silence. Then a sharp breath on the other end. Hale, as in Vivian Hale of Hale Technologies? Yes. Rachel, please. We'll be ready. Get him here as fast as you can. Adam hung up and turned back. They're preparing now. We have to move. The next few minutes were a blur of chaos. Security cleared the way. Diners in the restaurant turned to stare, their faces a mix of curiosity and concern. Pierre, the manager, called after them in alarm, but no one stopped. Adam lifted Oliver into his arms, the boy's body frighteningly light, his forehead burning. They waited for the elevator, every second stretched into an eternity. "Mom," Oliver whimpered. "I'm scared." "I'm right here, sweetheart," Vivian said, gripping his hand, her voice trembling but steady. "I won't let anything happen to you." Inside the elevator, Adam held the boy close, monitoring his breathing. Fast, shallow, weak. Signs of systemic infection. "You're doing great, Oliver," he said gently. "Just a little longer. My daughter, Emma, she's brave just like you. When you get better, I'll introduce you to." Oliver tried to smile, but another groan of pain escaped instead. The doors opened. The ambulance was already waiting at the emergency exit. 2 paramedics rushed forward with a stretcher. 10-year-old male, suspected appendicitis with rebound tenderness, Adam reported quickly, his tone crisp, automatic, as though he'd never left the job. Fever, 37.8 this morning, now higher. Nausea, no food for 24 hours. Pain worsening over a week, acute within the last 6 hours. One of the paramedics looked up, surprised. "You used to work in medicine?" "Used to," Adam said simply. Vivian climbed into the ambulance, but before the door shut, she turned to Adam, a man she hadn't even known 15 minutes ago. "Come with us." "Please," Adam glanced at his watch. His shift wasn't over. Leaving now could get him fired. But then he thought of Emma, and realized that if it were his daughter inside that ambulance— "I'm coming," he said, stepping in. The ambulance siren tore through the Las Vegas night. Red and blue lights flickered across the faces of 3 people from 3 different worlds, now beating to the same desperate rhythm. Oliver lay on the stretcher, his face pale, but his eyes open, fixed on Adam. "Mister," he whispered weakly. Were you ever scared when you had to do things like this? Adam squeezed his small hand. A 10-year-old, in pain, still worrying about someone else. It broke his heart. Of course I'm scared, Adam said honestly. Every time. But I learned something. Being brave doesn't mean not being afraid. It means doing what's right even when you are Vivian, seated across from them, watched him, truly seeing him for the first time. In her world, fear was weakness, an opening for rivals to strike. But here was a man who admitted fear and still acted. And she realized that was real strength. Oliver managed a faint smile. I think you were brave today. No, Adam shook his head softly. I just followed my heart. Same as your mom. Vivian blinked in surprise. Me? You knew something was wrong, didn't you? Adam said gently, not accusing. But people told you were overreacting. Tears welled in Vivian's eyes. I was scared. Scared they'd say I was panicking. Scared they were right. That I didn't know my own child anymore because I was never home. You were scared because you love him, Adam said. That's not weakness. That's what makes you a good mother. One of the paramedics glanced up. You did good, man. If this had been caught even a night later, we'd be talking about a very different outcome. Vivian's heart clenched. One night later, just one. And Oliver might have been gone. She looked at Adam. This man no one noticed, who had just saved the most precious thing in her life. Why did you do it? She asked quietly. You could have lost your job. I could have misunderstood you. Why risk it? Adam looked down at Oliver, then pictured Emma sleeping peacefully at home. If it were my daughter, he said slowly, I'd hope someone would do the same. Amid the sirens and flashing lights, Vivian realized something simple yet profound. A person's worth isn't measured by wealth or title, but by the moments they choose kindness over comfort. She reached out and held Adam's hand. Thank you, she whispered, not just for saving my son, but for reminding me what it means to be a mother. The ambulance turned into the emergency bay. Ahead lay surgery, waiting, and hope. But in that instant, the three of them, a billionaire, a single father, and a sick child, had become a temporary family, bound by the strongest force on earth, love and humanity. The ER doors swung open. Doctors rushed forward, wheeling the stretcher through the white curtains. Vivian stood frozen, trembling, eyes following until Oliver disappeared from view. Beside her, Adam remained, shirt damp with sweat, face tired but gaze unwavering. Amid the smell of antiseptic and the echoes of hospital monitors, Vivian realized, sometimes the most ordinary people carry the most extraordinary hearts. At University Medical Center, everything unfolded exactly as Dr. Martinez had promised. Oliver was taken straight into the emergency department, where a team was already waiting. Dr. Patel, the on-call surgeon, examined Oliver quickly and confirmed, acute appendicitis. We need to operate immediately. Has it ruptured? Vivian asked, her voice almost breaking. Not yet, but it's close, Dr. Patel said honestly. If we'd delayed a few more hours, the person who got him here saved his life. Oliver was taken to be prepped for surgery. Vivian signed the consent forms with trembling hands. When the OR doors closed, she collapsed into a chair in the waiting room, burying her face in her hands. And for the first time in many years, Vivian Hale, a woman known for never showing weakness, cried. Adam sat down beside her, saying nothing, simply being there. Sometimes a silent presence is more valuable than any words of comfort. The clock on the waiting room wall ticked steadily, each second stretching into what felt like a century. Vivienne sat rigid in a hard plastic chair, a stark contrast to the plush leather in her office. After the first hour of silence, Adam took out his phone. "I need to call my daughter," he said gently. "Do you mind?" "No, please," Vivienne said, though in truth, she wanted to listen. She wanted to witness the kind of love he kept speaking about. Adam dialed, and a little girl's voice burst through the speaker. "Daddy, I've been waiting for you forever." "I'm sorry, my princess," Adam said, his voice warming. "Something important came up. Mrs. Rosa said you're helping a boy. Is he okay?" Vivienne was struck by the maturity in Emma's voice. "The doctors are taking care of him," Adam explained, "but I think he'll be fine." "Do you know why?" "Why?" "Because someone's dad got him to the hospital in time. Just like Daddy always pays attention to you." There was a moment of silence. Then Emma asked, with a seriousness surprising for a 10-year-old, "Daddy, I'm so proud of you." "Do you know that?" Adam had to fight to keep his voice steady. "Why do you say that, sweetheart?" "Because you always help people. Even when you're tired, even when work is hard. You're still a good person." Tears rolled down Adam's cheeks. Vivienne turned away to wipe her own. "You're the reason I can do it," Adam said hoarsely. "Every day, when I look at you, I remember there are things worth fighting for." "How much does Daddy love you?" "More than all the stars in the Las Vegas sky," Emma answered, clearly their ritual. "That's right. I'll be home soon. Promise." After he hung up, Adam sat quietly for a moment. "She sounds very special," Vivienne said softly. "Emma is everything I have," Adam admitted, "and because of her, I learned how to be a better father, a better man. Every scare with her health taught me how to observe, how to listen to the body. Maybe all that pain prepared me to help Oliver tonight." Vivienne nodded, then took out her own phone. She looked at her contacts and tapped a name she hadn't called in 2 years, Sarah Hale, her younger sister. The phone rang 3 times before someone picked up. "Vivienne," came a surprised voice. "Sarah," Vivienne said, her voice unsteady. Can you talk? Are you okay?" "Your voice." "Oliver is in surgery," Vivienne exhaled. "Acute appendicitis. If it hadn't been for a man, a stranger who noticed what I missed, my son might have—" She couldn't finish. Sarah was silent for a moment, then her voice softened. "Where are you?" "I'm coming right now." "You don't have to," Vivienne began. "You're my sister," Sarah said firmly, "and Oliver is my nephew. I'm on my way." After she hung up, Vivienne realized she was crying, not just from fear for Oliver, but from the realization of how much she had lost over the years. Her relationship with her sister, moments with her son, the ability to trust herself. "I became so focused on building an empire," she said to Adam, "that I forgot how to build a family." "It's never too late to change," Adam said. Just then, a woman entered the waiting room, Dr. Rachel Martinez, Adam's old friend. When she saw him, her face lit up. "Adam Cooper," she said, stepping forward to hug him. "I can't believe you've come back like this." "Hi, Rachel," Adam smiled wearily. "It's been a long time." "Too long," Rachel said, then turned to Vivienne. "You're Oliver's mother, right? Your son is in the best hands. Dr. Patel is an artist." Then she turned back to Adam. "You know, after you left, this hospital lost one of its best EMTs. People still remember you. Adam Cooper, the one who never missed a sign." Vivienne looked at Adam with new eyes. "You're famous here?" "I just did my job," Adam said modestly. "No," Rachel shook her head. "You saved more lives than anyone I know. You have a gift. The ability to see what others miss. She paused, sincere. You're still a hero, Adam. You just save people differently now. After Rachel left, Vivian and Adam sat in silence. Outside the window, Las Vegas still glittered. Millions of lights. Thousands of people gambling, dining, chasing happiness. But in this small waiting room, two people from opposite worlds had learned the same lesson. Happiness isn't about what you have. It's about what you cherish. And sometimes, you have to come close to losing everything to realize it. After a while, Vivian wiped her tears and looked at Adam. "How did you know?" she asked hoarsely. "How did you see what Dr. Morrison, a top pediatrician with 30 years of experience, missed?" Adam sighed. "I don't think he meant to miss it." Appendicitis can be hard to diagnose, especially early on. Maybe when he saw Oliver 5 days ago, the symptoms just weren't clear yet. But you needed only a minute. "I had an advantage," Adam said, his voice lowering. "When Emma was born with a heart defect, I learned to see what doctors might miss. Not because they aren't good, but because they're not there 24/7. They don't wake up at 3 a.m. to make sure your child is still breathing. They don't learn to read every expression, every breath." Adam paused, looking down at his calloused hands. "When my wife died, I promised Emma I would always be there for her, that I would never miss the signs. I gave up my career to keep that promise, and maybe everything I've learned prepared me for this moment." Vivian looked at this man, who had sacrificed so much, who had turned his pain into strength to save others. "You gave up your medical career for your daughter?" she asked softly. Adam nodded. "Being an EMT was incredible, but it didn't give me a stable schedule. Emma needed me present, not in an ambulance on the other side of the city, when she needed medication or had a breathing episode. And now you do. Janitorial work. I do the job that lets me pay the rent, cover Emma's medical bills, and get her to school on time every morning," Adam said, without a trace of shame. "It's not glamorous, but it gives me what I need most: time with my daughter." There was a moment of silence. Then Vivian said quietly, "I built a multi-billion-dollar empire. I have power most people only dream of. But tonight, I nearly lost my son because I let work, schedules, and faith in experts matter more than a mother's instinct." She turned to Adam, tears welling again. "And you, a man doing a job most people never even see, saved my son because you learned how to truly see. Do you know what that taught me?" "What?" Adam asked gently. "That a person's true value isn't measured by title or bank account. It's measured by the capacity to care, to truly care, for others." 3 hours later, Dr. Patel stepped out of the operating room. Vivian rose instantly, her face pale. "Is Oliver all right?" she whispered. Dr. Patel gave a tired but reassuring smile. "He's fine. The surgery went well. His appendix was badly swollen and severely inflamed. Just a few more hours, and it would have ruptured. But we got it out. In time, Vivian threw her arms around Adam, the stranger who had now become her son's savior. She wept against his shoulder, and Adam simply let her cry, understanding that sometimes what people need most is permission to fall apart. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for not staying silent, for trusting what you saw, for saving my son when Oliver was brought into recovery, still unconscious but stable." Vivian sat by his bedside, holding his hand. Adam began to leave. It was nearly midnight, and he needed to get home to Emma. But before he could go, Vivian called out to him, "Adam, I know there's no way to fully repay what you've done, she said. But please, let me do something. Your job at Celestia. Do you even like it? Adam shook his head honestly. I do it for my daughter. Not because I love it. Would you want to go back into healthcare? Vivian asked. Not as an EMT with insane hours, but in a position where you can use your skills and still have time for Emma? Adam looked at her, speechless. Hale Technologies has a corporate medical center for over 5,000 employees, Vivian continued. We need a medical coordinator, someone with real-world experience, someone who knows how to care about people, not just patient charts. 9 to 5 schedule, triple your current pay, and full health insurance for you and Emma. Adam felt his breath catch. You don't have to do this. I'm not doing it out of charity, Vivian said firmly. I'm doing it because you've earned it. And because my son needs people like you in this world. People who trust their instincts, who aren't afraid to speak up, who understand that every life matters. Adam looked down, fighting back emotion. After 7 years of struggle, 7 years of sacrifice and survival, at last, a door had opened. I accept, he said softly. Thank you. But there was one last thing he needed to do. He pulled out his phone and called Mrs. Rosa. Sorry to call so late, he said. Is Emma still awake? She just fell asleep, Mrs. Rosa replied. Everything okay, Adam? Better than okay, Adam said, his voice trembling with quiet joy. But I'll be home late. Please tell Emma her dad loves her more than all the stars. More than all the stars, Mrs. Rosa echoed, smiling. 6 months later, at the Hale Technologies Medical Center, Adam Cooper sat in his new office reviewing the employee wellness schedule. On his desk sat 2 framed photos, one of Emma, smiling brightly, and another of Emma and Oliver sharing chocolate chip ice cream. The 2 children had become best friends, despite coming from completely different worlds. Every week, Vivian brought Oliver to visit, and the 2 families shared dinner together. Not at Celestia, but at the small, cozy restaurants Adam recommended, where the food was simple but made with love. Vivian had changed since that fateful night. She still ran Hale Technologies with the same precision and strength, but now she also made time for Oliver. Real time, not the rushed moments squeezed between meetings. She also founded the Cooper Foundation, a scholarship program for single parents who dreamed of studying medicine but couldn't afford it. So far, the foundation had helped more than 50 people pursue their dreams of healing others. But more important than any donation or award, Vivian had learned the lesson Adam taught her in that hallway at Celestia. That sometimes strangers are angels in disguise, and true worth is never measured by a bank account or a job title. As for Adam, he had finally found the balance he'd been searching for. His new job allowed him to use his medical knowledge, to help people, and still be home on time to read bedtime stories to Emma each night. Emma, with her brave little heart, was now healthier than ever. Doctors said that with proper care and love, she could live a long, happy, normal life. One evening, as Adam picked her up from school, Emma asked, "Daddy, I heard people say you saved a boy's life. Was that Oliver?" Adam knelt down, looking into her big blue eyes, so much like her mother's. "Yes, sweetheart. But I didn't do it alone. I learned to notice the signs because of you. You taught me how to be a better father, and that helped me see when someone else needed help." Emma wrapped her small arms tightly around him. "You're the best dad in the world." And in that moment, Adam Cooper, the man who once thought he'd lost everything, who gave up his career to raise his daughter, who found purpose in the quiet hallways of a luxury restaurant, realized that he was the richest man in the world. Not because of money or status, but because of love, because of his ability to make a difference, and because he understood that every life, whether it belongs to a billionaire's son or an ordinary child, is priceless. If this story touched your heart, remember this. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is pay attention. Pay attention to the people around you, to the signs others overlook. And most of all, trust your instincts, even when it means speaking up in the silence. Because someday, you just might be the one who saves a life. Subscribe for more heartfelt stories about kindness, intuition, and the quiet connections that remind us what truly matters in life.